I think it's great. I just thank you very much to everybody who's come along. I mean, remembering Richard is the name of the day, and that's what we're here to do. And we're here to celebrate, you know, his life and his fantastic career. And it's just great to see so many people here.
Now, obviously, most of the people here today are hardcore rallying enthusiasts, and from their perspective, you have the best seat in the house. The last British World Rally Champion, the first ever English World Rally Champion, you sat alongside him, you worked really closely with him. It was the best seat in the house. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I saw the highs, I saw the lows, I was upside down a few times as well. It was great, you know, it was a fantastic journey. It was, you know, when I first met Richard, he was doing the Prodive Challenge in the UK, and we met in the bar after an event, had a couple of beers, and decided we both wanted to be World Rally Champions. You know, what a crazy idea. And it worked. I have no idea how it worked, but we both had the determination and the ambition to go on an amazing journey that took us all around the world, met some fantastic people, and you know, to have so many people here today with RB5s and RB320s, you know, it is amazing. I mean, you all came on the journey with us.
Now, what was it, do you think, that marked Richard out as such an amazing driver? Because we've all got our favourite drivers, but he did something special. He kind of brought something new to the sport in the way that he approached it. Describe that for us.
Yeah, I think he did. I mean, a lot of people will say that Richard was the first driver who brought a kind of a race ethos. You know, he was the first driver really to look at data with engineers and really get involved with the process. He was a very tactical driver, very strategic, but also on his day one of the fastest. And it was this meticulous preparation. I mean, nothing was left to chance. He would be discussing and choosing test roads with the engineers. He would be setting out his objectives as to what he wanted to achieve, how he wanted the car to be on that event. Would be planning on the recce which stages we were going to push on, what we needed to do, what we needed to find out early in the rally in order to you know, have a good result at the end of it. And I think for me that was the main thing. But you know, not forgetting, I mean, 99 and 2000, Richard was the guy who had the most number of fastest stage times of anyone in the World Rally Championship. And I think some people forget that sometimes, that, you know, ultimately to win rallies and win championships, you do need pace, and undoubtedly he had the pace.
But there must be extra challenges though if you're the co-driver, because historically in rallying, you know, the co-driver is the one who does all the paperwork, does all the clever stuff, and the driver just goes and sort of gets it into gear and attacks the stage. What are the extra challenges as a co-driver coping with the driver who's already sort of one step ahead of everything?
I think there's challenges for co-drivers regardless, but whenever you work in any walk of life with a perfectionist, which I'm sure some of you do, it adds some extra challenges, because everything had to be absolutely right. You know, I had to know the answer to every question he was going to ask, and I had to know what the question was before he'd even asked it. The notes, you know, Richard's pace notes were just so detailed, but that's why when it was foggy, when it was muddy, when it was difficult, he was so quick. We had 28 different calls, different severities of corner, and yeah, exactly. And it didn't go round twice. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. When Robbie Head was doing gravel notes for us and working closely with us, he nicknamed Richard Pentium, because he thought you would need, in those days, a Pentium computer with 10 generations of computers since then. But in those days, that's what Richard's brain was as far as Robbie was concerned, because you know, even after working for quite a few years with us, he couldn't get his head around the note system.
And the combination of all that, of course, was 2001, when it all kind of came together perfectly. And I think for you, the moment that you realised that was sort of possibly on the cards was New Zealand. Talk a little bit about how crucial New Zealand was and the preparation for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, New Zealand turned that season around, and we had a really strong season in 2000. Perhaps we tried a bit too hard to beat Marcus in Finland and ended up going off the road, which I think ruined that season. But 2001, we had a new car. We had to adapt. The team had to find the best setup. When we went to New Zealand, we knew we had a strong chance there. We'd won there before. Richard spoke to the engineers beforehand, made sure that there was 2 choices of test road, because he didn't want to set a car up that was only good on a clean road. So we needed a fresh road to try the car on. We went to the start of the rally, and on the first stage we pushed like crazy, second on the road, really slippy, really difficult, because he wanted to see how hard it would be to run up the front and how much time we would lose. We elected to drop 30, 40 seconds in the first day. I remember Lappy saying that's far too much, you shouldn't drop that much. 3 stages into day 2 we were in the lead, because of the advantage that we had running where we were. We went on to have a 40-second lead that night. I think we took a minute and 20 off Colin on day 2. Colin was running second on the road and taunting us at the restart. Aye, Bunsey, you'll never get that back. Well, we did, and went into day 3 with a 40-second lead over Colin and won the rally. And you know, to me that was a prime example. I mean, day 2, I've got the in-car and I watch it sometimes, and it's just incredible the commitment that we had in day 2 when we really needed to push. That was the opportunity, we took it, and we had made the opportunity in the first place.
So that's the thing, everyone who kind of complains about road sweeping and tactics, if you use it right and you're quick, it's part of the sport. You know, you have to be able to apply and bend the rules. Obviously this period of the year for rally fans, British rally fans, is quite hard. You know, last weekend was the anniversary of losing Beef, and of course the anniversary of losing Colin McRae. So just thought if you could just explain a little bit about what that means right now to you.
Yeah, I mean, last weekend wasn't great. I mean, Beef, and you know, I have to add that the Michael Park Fund is part of the Richard Burns Foundation. Beef was one of my closest friends. Richard, myself, Marco and Beef would spend a lot of time together on events, which was why it was so poignant that when I did the Richard Burns Memorial Rally a couple of years ago, and won it, it was with Marco and it was in the Subaru. So, you know, obviously 5 years on from Beef and 3 years on from Colin, and I think it's worth noting that today is also the Colin McRae Rally in Scotland. It's also the last round of the British Rally Championship. It's also the IRC event in San Remo, so lots of rallying things going on. And there's a small race a night race somewhere, is it Singapore or something? So lots of motorsport going on this weekend, which makes it, you know, doubly more impressive to see the amount of people that turned out here today.
Robert Reid, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Now I'd like to call up to the stage a man who's pretty much at home here. It is David Lapworth, Technical Director of Prodrive and the Chairman of Richard Burns Foundation. David Lapworth, ladies and gentlemen. Or Lappy, as Robert just called him. Am I allowed to call you Lappy?
Most people do.
So first of all, explain to us a little bit about the significance of today and what exactly it is that everyone's giving so generously towards.
Well, as always, the most generous thing is people's time. There's a lot of people here who put a lot of effort in for the foundation over the last few years. There's a great turnout today. It's good to see everybody here. You know, particularly, you know, Jackie, David Simpson, people from RB owners and Scooby owners and so on, all the people that have taken the trouble to come here today. This is what the sort of charity side of things is all about.
Just in case anyone doesn't know, where does the money go from the Richard Burns Foundation?
In general terms, we try to support people who are going through the kind of experiences that Richard went through. Specifically, more and more these days, we're trying to work closely with the Brain and Spine Foundation. Peter Hamlin, who looked after Richard, is very much part of that, and it fits quite well that we should help them to try and help people that find themselves in the situation that Richard was in.
Very good. So all of your presence here today and the money that you're spending, and of course the raffle. Hope you've all filled in your raffle, because we'll be doing the raffle in about 15 minutes. It's all going to a very, very good cause. It's all close to our hearts and minds. Now, more importantly, here at Prodrive, I'd imagine this is a place, as we just heard from Robert, that Richard was a very, very kind of analytical driver. I imagine he spent quite a lot of time here looking over the car and discussing things with you guys.
Yeah, over the years that Richard worked with us, he would have been a regular visitor here. We spent a lot of time in that suite over there on the top floor, you can see, talking about, every year we used to have a plan for the following year. And I think preparation and planning was really the sort of hallmark of the way Richard and Robert went about things. All of the drivers I've been lucky enough to work with and sit next to most of the World Rally Champions over the years. They've all got amazing talent. You can tell when you sit next to a Richard or a Colin or a Marcus Bromo. You can't miss the driving talent, but the thing that was very clear about the way Richard and Robert went about things was that there was a plan. That although you need some luck to be a world champion or to win a rally or to win a race, although you need to be in the right place and at the right time and all those things, if you have a plan, it's much more likely to happen than if you just drift along thinking, well, I'll just try harder and I'll go faster and sooner or later we'll win. They took a very carefully planned approach, step by step. I remember in the early days it started with trying to set a single fastest stage time, then it went to being fastest over the whole of one leg, and then finally the goal was to win a rally, and then it became to be world champion, step by step, and analytical and striving for perfection.
But that kind of striving for perfection, I know a lot of people here who maybe compete or would like to compete, and certainly in my experience with some rally drivers, the drivers themselves do just want to get in the car and just push it and either win the stage or put it in a ditch. You know, there is that kind of attitude. And but if you've got a driver like Richard who comes here and is that analytical, is it helpful, or is it a bit of a nuisance when you've got a team of professionals here who just want to get on with making a fast car, and he's input? Is that good or a bad?
I can say in Richard's case, without any doubt, that it was beneficial. For sure, a driver has to be careful that they don't imagine that all their problems are in the car. They themselves have to work on their performance and so on, but that was never in doubt with Richard. He was as concerned about his own performance as he was about a bit of understeer or a stiff damper. But what was great about Richard was that he would sit down with the engineers and help them to look at the data and do their job. I don't remember ever having a conversation with Richard where he would say, I need softer front springs, or I need this change on the damper. What he would do is say, as a driver, I'm not happy with the way the car reacts in this situation or that situation. And then if necessary, sit down, probably with Simon Cole in those days, sit down and look at the data and see if he could help Simon to work out what the problem was. But if you've got a driver like that who's patient and determined, so isn't trying to be the engineer but trying to help the engineer, you've got a perfect combination.
Now, obviously today is about remembering Richard, and that's why everyone is here, but I can't help asking you, because I'm probably not allowed to, but everyone would like to know, do you think that given the current situation, we may well be looking at the next British World Rally Champion in a car that was built here at Prodrive? Is that a possibility, David?
It's definitely a possibility. I'm not making any predictions. For sure, we as Prodrive, our ambition is to win many more World Rally Championships and other championships, hopefully. And we'll do our bit to try and get the British driver the opportunity to do that again. We did it with Richard and Colin. We'd love to do it again, but it is a professional business and it has to be done on merit, and you can't just make it happen. The British drivers, the young British drivers that are around today, need to deliver, like Richard and Colin did.
I think in their honour we'd love to see it happen, and to see it happen here. Ladies and gentlemen, David Lapworth. Now, and finally, before we get on to the raffle and then the sound off, I just want to introduce someone to the stage now. For those of us rally fans who love looking at great photographs of rally cars in action, flying through the air, through the mud, through the dust, through the rain, but also those amazing close-up portraits of rally drivers. Quite a lot of those photos will have been taken by the man I'm about to introduce to the stage. He's the Muck in McLean, the photographic agency, but more importantly for today, he was one of Richard Burns' closest friends. Would you please welcome to the stage Colin McMaster. Hello, Colin. Could you just hold that for me a second?